Yeah, it's odd because I think, okay, I understand. Oh, it might be cool. You know, I read through it. Unless I missed it, you know? Have you seen it today? You got addiction?
No, it didn't say.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm not the only one that missed that.
Oh.
I was looking for it.
What day? No, because it's in the black stuff.
Oh, so to be determined. Oh.
Yeah, and then it says the weather may or may not be good, so we have a reception there, we'll have a reception.
So there's no date, that's why. That's why I couldn't find a date. I read it.
It's just
What
like
day is it? To be announced.
To be determined.
To be determined, yeah.
Welcome everybody. I'll call this meeting to order. Public hearing of Council of the Town of Oliver, Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. This public hearing is convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act in order to consider official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 1370-02 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1380-10. At this public hearing, all persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to be heard. However, I ask that while being called upon by the chair to address council, please proceed to the podium. Before commencing with your remarks, please state your name and address. When addressing council, please restrict your remarks to matters contained in the bylaw. All written comments to be submitted to the side table prior to the close of this public hearing. Comments received to date on the proposed bylaws are contained in the binder located at the side table. Anyone wishing to review those comments are invited to do so. I'll now ask the Director of Development Services to outline the bylaw amendments.
Thank you, Worship. The subject of this public hearing is for vacation rentals, which are the zoning and OCP bylaw amendments, bed and breakfast, and home occupation amendments associated with this bylaw. So the proposed OCP bylaw amendment is to amend section 8.3.4, which are the low density residential policies, to include vacation rentals as an allowable use along with home occupations and bed and breakfast operations, provided that the operation does not have an unacceptable negative impact on surrounding homes. The other OCP amendment is to adding section 12.2.8F to the agriculture and food systems policies to list vacation rentals and bed and breakfast operations as a secondary use that contributes to the economic viability of farm operations. The proposed zoning bylaw amendments would be adding bed and breakfast operation, or adding, a vacation rental as a permitted use in the RS1, RS2, RS3, RS4, RD1 zones, and then also adding vacation rentals as a permitted use in the rural zones, so ag and ag transition. The new vacation rental guidelines will look as follows. A vacation rental shall not be operated without a valid business license issued by the Town of Oliver, which shall be displayed in a prominent location on the parcel in question. In the low density residential or rural zone, the following provisions for vacation rental shall apply. A vacation rental shall only be permitted within a single detached dwelling, legal secondary suite, carriage home, or duplex unit. A vacation rental shall only be operated by the owner of the parcel in question. A vacation rental shall only be operated by a person who has a principal residence on the parcel in question. A maximum of one vacation rental is permitted per parcel. In the case of a duplex, only one dwelling unit shall be permitted to be used as a vacation rental. A vacation rental shall not be permitted on the same parcel as a bed and breakfast operation. A maximum of 2 adults and 2 children per bedroom are permitted per vacation rental, and the holder of a vacation rental license shall keep a written record of names of all vacation rental tenants. The required amendments for bed and breakfast operations that coincide with this, the other changes, are adding the following to section 612 bed and breakfast operation general regulations. A bed and breakfast operation shall not be permitted on the same parcel as a vacation rental. The holder of a bed and breakfast operation license shall keep a written record of the names of all tenants. And the change brought forward from first and second reading from council was that a bed and breakfast operation shall only be operated by an owner who has a principal residence on the parcel in question. The other change would be amending table 8.2.1 required off-street vehicle parking spaces for bed and breakfast operation from 1 space per 4 guest suites to 0.5 spaces per bedroom. And then the last change is the home occupation amendments. So what change that's proposed is limiting the number of home occupations permitted per parcel to 1. And this is to ensure that home occupations remain accessory to principal residential use. And removing the reference to a home workshop being a permitted home occupation. This amendment removes the reference to a home a home workshop as being a permitted home occupation. The guidelines in section 6.10 home occupations specifically state that manufacturing and industrial uses are not permitted, and the definition of manufacturing includes fabricating, processing, assembling, and finishing of goods or materials, which is consistent with what a home workshop would be. Yep, and that's all the changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gould. I now declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaws. Please come forward.
My name is Larry Goodman. I live at 331 Chardonnay Avenue. My biggest concern is entrance into the lots. Now, is it going to be one entrance servicing 3 lots?
I think you're at the next public hearing.
It's the wrong thing.
2
Don't
public
forget, we're on bed and breakfast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Keep your train of thought.
Yeah, I was wondering. Sorry. Shouldn't come in late.
For a second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak further to the proposed bylaws? For a third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak further to the proposed bylaws? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing on the bylaw is closed. Ask for a motion to adjourn. Councilor Rice, Councilor Schwarzenberger, call the question. Favor? Motion carries. I'll call our second public hearing of the evening to order from the Town of Oliver, Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. This public hearing is convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act in order to consider Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1380.11. At this public hearing, all persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to be heard. However, I ask that on being called upon by the chair to address council, please proceed to the podium. Before commencing your remarks, please state your name and address. When addressing council, please restrict your remarks to matters contained in the bylaw. All written comments to be submitted to the side table prior to the close of the public hearing. Comments received to date on the proposed bylaws are contained in the binder located at the side table. Anyone wishing to review those comments is invited to do so. I now ask Director of Development Services to outline the bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject of this second public hearing is the Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 138011 for 312 Chardonnay Avenue. Property location is in the Tuckalnuit area, with the property highlighted in yellow there. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from RH1 to RS4 to facilitate a 3-lot subdivision in which a single-family dwelling will be constructed on each lot. Since the proposed use and minimum lot sizes do not meet the requirements in the RH1 zone, a rezoning to RS4 is required. There's a picture of the zoning map. So the current zoning is RH1, residential high density 1. And the OCP is LR, low density residential. Just a bit of a background on the OCP designation. The subject property was previously designated as Tuckalnuit Mixed Residential under OCP 1070 in 2003, which allowed a mix of low and medium density residential housing. In March of 2017, OCP Bylaw 1370 was adopted, which changed the designation of this property to LR, which is the current low density residential. So this designation supports the construction of single family dwellings, duplexes, secondary suites, and carriage homes, which is aligned with the current proposal. There's a picture of the preliminary subdivision plan. I wanted to highlight just through first and second reading the meeting there. Just a comparison with some of the neighboring lots. So the properties you can see, lots 16, 17, and 18 are all about 468 square meters. And these proposed lots are 462, 421, 438. So it's not a far departure from, it's decently consistent with the neighborhood. There's a preliminary site plan showing how 3 buildings, well, it actually shows 2, one on proposed lot A and proposed lot C, just how they could be constructed, the size of them, how the driveways would work. So lot C, the access would be from Chardonnay Avenue, whereas lot B and A would be from Meadows Drive. And here's some preliminary elevations for lot C that the developer has come up with, just showing a 1-story home on this lot. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you, Director. I declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw.
His question's been answered.
Good answer.
For a second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak further to the proposed bylaw?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, my name is Gordon Hahn, 707 Meadows Drive. Before I ask my question, I'd like to say I'm fully in support of this application. However, my question is, where does the Land Commission fit into this? My memory of the last time the community went away from the mixed residential that the Land Commission had indicated was their priority there, and an application was made to the Land Commission. They came back and said something along the line of, this is sort of the last time we will allow for a greater density, or a lesser density rather. Is that no longer valid? Will the Land Commission have to approve this application? Where does that stand?
I'll ask the CEO to.
Thank you, Your Worship. With respect to the ALC, when we did the OCP bylaw, that's when the ALC would be, was able to review it at that point in time. And because we were able to prove we were still providing good density within the area, the change to those 4 lots was not challenged by the ALC, so that this does not have to go forward to the ALC for this rezoning. If it was something else, they had their opportunity doing the OCP review. Okay?
Does that answer your question? Does that answer your question?
That's fine, yes, thank you.
For a third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak further to the proposed bylaw?
I'll just add a couple comments. John DiBernardo, I live at 471 Johnson Crescent, Oliver. I'm the proposed developer of this piece of property. Just want to let everybody know that we really would like the final reading to be approved of this. You know, it's zoned RH1, which is high density, which, you know, would have been very easy for us to go in there and say, let's maximize the density to a 4-plex or 6-plex. But we actually really considered the local neighborhood of the rest of the houses that are in there and tried to make it fit a little bit better. I know that if we were to build a 3-story building in there, a lot more people would object to what we're planning on doing. Would have been easier for us to do it. The zoning was in place, the water was in place, just get a building permit and go. But we're actually looking at, you know, a higher tax rate for the town, building 3 single-family homes in there versus a 4-plex, along with the consideration for the residents of the Okanagan Oasis subdivision. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw? Hearing none, I hereby declare this public hearing on this bylaw closed. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Councilor Schwarzenberger. Councilor Grice, all the questions in favor? Opposed, motion carries. I'll call our regular meeting of council, Town of Oliver, Tuesday, November 12th, 2019 to order. And I'll ask the CAO if there's any late items to add to the agenda.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have no items to include on this agenda.
Seeing no items to add, I'll call for a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Councilor Price, Councilor Antonina, questions, in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Moving to the report today, looking to section E, adoption of prior minutes, adoption of October 28, 2019, regular council meeting minutes. A motion to adopt. Councilor Schwarzenberger, second by Councilor Mattis. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports, October 28, 2019, Committee of the Whole open meeting minutes for receipt. Can I get a motion to receive those minutes? Councilor Rice, seconder, Councilor Antonina. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'll ask Chairperson Schwarzenberger to give us a report from today's Committee of the Whole meeting earlier today.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our Committee of the Whole meeting today was dedicated to water matters. The first item was the 10-year water and sanitary systems capital plan. It's quite an interesting report, and one of the things that drew my attention was that water demand by each lot in town has dropped by half since 1999. So that's a great thing considering water conservation. The proposed motion was that the Director of Operations report be received for information, and it will be added to budget discussions for the water and sewer budgets that start tomorrow. The second item was the Gallagher Lake Siphon life cycle cost and risk analysis. We basically discussed two main options for the repair of the Gallagher Lake Siphon. And the proposed motion was that council resolve to proceed with the Gallagher Lake low head siphon repair and bring it forward to the water budget, the first water budget session, which starts tomorrow. And finally, we had a report from our Chief Financial Officer on the financing for the Gallagher Lake Siphon and how the options available to borrow to finance that. And again, that will be brought forward to tomorrow's meeting for our sewer and water budget. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councilor Schwarzenberger. Moving to water matters. First item under water matters is the ditch 100th anniversary. I will ask the CEO.
Pass it over to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of this report is to provide council with the status on the 100th anniversary of the irrigation canal, which is fondly known as the ditch. As part of the corporate services work plan, it includes recognition, and we identified the 100th anniversary of the irrigation canal for this year. We've been working on building Oliver's community pride through many events, and that includes our annual Spirit of Oliver event. When we had our 150th Canada's birthday, we were able to secure a grant and did the mural that's now on the archive building. So all these little projects do help to build a little bit of community pride. In preparing for the 100th anniversary of the ditch, when the CAO attended the LGMA conference, because they're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year as well, she took a publication called The Ditch to the 100th anniversary displays, and people were able to flip through the magazine and see some of the old pictures of the ditch. It was quite well received. And coming out of that, the LGMA asked Oliver to highlight our community, so it's in this edition of the Exchange magazine, and I've included the introductory paragraph for council's information. Just backtracking a little bit, the LGMA, they did produce CAOs as well. And I provided the link to their YouTube video for the 1929 decade, because it talks about the very first improvement district in the province of British Columbia, which was the ditch, which became solid. So that was kind of an interesting piece of history there. In collaboration with many staff members in Public Works, we've been preparing a bronze plaque that's in production right now, and it will be installed in the linear park just up on Fairview Road by the high school. We thought it was a good location because you can see the ditch right up there by the sidewalk and the crossing streets. So it would be a good place, and people are there in the park visiting it, and they'll give them something to look at as well. We hope to have an official unveiling in 2019 to keep with the 100th year. And we'll include, all of council and former solid trustees, our MLA, some local dignitary. There's many people that have had their hand on the production of this irrigation canal over the last 100 years. We'll plan a little celebration tea, maybe here, or maybe we'll get a tent and have it up just right up at the park, and hope for some favorable weather that day. And I'm starting to build some social media posts just to get people thinking about the 100 years that the ditch has been in place. So the report is just for council's information. We did provide some financial information, utilizing some funds out of the miscellaneous budget underwater. The plaque is $34.95. The base, I believe the Director of Operations gave me a tentative.
Yeah, it'd be about $500 to $600.
$500 to $600, so we'll stay within that budget, and then a reception of $100 or $200.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. Any
Thank you.
comments, questions, Council? Councilman Taylor?
I know it doesn't say it in the report, and we're hoping that it'll be finished in 2019, but do we have any idea approximately when?
I would think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should have it in Oliver, and then Public Works will build the base.
Yeah, we can build a base before it gets here.
So before the end of this year for sure.
Okay.
Maybe we can do it before our December 9th meeting. It would be kind of fun as well. Try to pick a day.
Just dress warm.
Just dress warm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Michelle?
Does the staff require a motion for the funds, or it's already
No, it's already
Yeah,
in
that's
budget.
We just need a motion to receive for
Sure,
information.
so moved.
Councilor Michelle, second. Councilor Scoot. Any further questions, discussion? All the question, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Moving to item 2, the water quality report for October 2019. I'll pass this over to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I will ask Mr. Goodsall to highlight some of the things out of the report for October.
Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of this report is to provide a summary of the water system operations by the town in the month of October. We also send a copy to Interior Health Authority, who oversees our conditions on permit. I'll just point out some of the things that were done in October. In our rural systems, we had to replace a fence due to some vandalism at our number 4 reservoir. We need to replace a hypogeneration cell for our chlorination system at Miller Road. That's October, of course, is the start of irrigation turnoffs, which were October 8th. And the canal shutdown was October 29th, which keeps our rural operators quite busy in October. And they start draining the system. In our in-town operations, some of our main, one of the main projects that we were working on near the end of September and into October was repairing the old water reservoir. So we actually did maintenance. We drained the old reservoir, and we inspected it, I think, 2 years ago, and knew that we had some exposed metals that needed to be resurfaced and filled in cracks, and they're just cleaning, sanitizing, and reloading the reservoirs. And so those were, and we had installed and updated a new radio at Rocklet Pump House for communication. Those were only some of the few things that we do. Overall, I believe October on average the temperature was lower than normal, so I think that had a direct relation on our water consumption. Our groundwater consumption was lower than the 7-year average, and same with our domestic surface, our domestic surface water was lower than average, and our domestic groundwater was lower than the 7-year average as well. Were there any questions from council on the report?
Councilor Matthews?
Based on our meeting this afternoon and the discussion there regarding our assets and the reservoir, what would you rate the overall condition inside?
The overall condition it's fairly good still. There might be some pipelining that we have to do. There's some corrosion on some of the existing pipes that come in and out of the reservoir. That's the next thing we'll be looking at. But we still have some life in it. I can't give you a date, but I think for the next, now that we've filled in the exposed rebar and metal that was showing, it's not going to corrode as quickly as it was starting to. We hope to get 20, 30 years out of it still.
Any other questions, council? Any other motion to receive the report? Councilor Matthews? Seconder. Councilor Grace. Further questions, discussion? Call the question, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Councilor Stu, we got anything to report this evening?
Just today's regular meeting, so
Councilor Michelle? Thank you. Moving to bylaws. Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 1370.02 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1380.10 vacation rentals. For third reading, I will refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will pass this over to Mr. Publ. He has reviewed it with you, so it's just here for your consideration of third reading.
Any questions, comments, council? Councilor Schwarzenberger?
I'd just like to say I thought that our new director of development service did a great job on this. He gave us some ideas from other communities and listened to some of our thoughts, and I think we have a very good bylaw coming forward.
Move the recommendation.
I will move the recommendation that Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 1370.02 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1380.10 be read for a third time and be forwarded to the Ministry of Transportation for sign-off on the bylaw amendments prior to adoption.
Second.
Second by Councilor Grace. Any further discussion, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item 2, Zoning Bylaw Amendment 1380.11-312 Chardonnay Avenue for third reading. Refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, this was, the public hearing was held earlier today, and the Director of Development Services did review the changes that are being proposed for that lot, and now it's in front of the council for consideration of third reading.
Comments, questions, council? Councilor Grace?
I'll move the recommendation that zoning amendment bylaw 1380.11 be read a third time and be forwarded to the Ministry of Transportation for sign-off on the bylaw amendment prior to adoption.
Second to Councilor Schwarzenberger. Any further questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item 3, Fees and Charges Bylaw 1383 for adoption. I'll refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. The fees and charges bylaw has been consolidated into, taking all of them out of the different bylaws and putting it into one consolidated bylaw. And council has had it reviewed, a few times, and so it's now in front of you for adoption.
Thank you. Questions, comments, council? Can I get a mover?
I will move that, bylaw 1383, fees and charges bylaw be adopted.
Second, Council Grace. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, bylaw 1388, Town of Oliver safe premises. Refer to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw 1388 has received 3 readings from the council. It is replacing the bylaw that just dealt with controlled substance properties, and it's now expanded to ensure that we can look after any nuisance property that is within the community. And it's here for adoption also.
Thank you. That's good to go.
Sure. I will move that, bylaw 1388 be adopted.
Second by Council Grace. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Business. Appointment of approving officer. Refer to the CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is in front of council to have Mr. Hull, the Director of Development Services, appointed as the approving officer for the town of Oliver. With the hiring of the Director of Development Services, it would be appropriate for this position to take on the role of approving officer. This also allows the CAO to focus on council's strategic priorities as well as the management of the organization. It should be noted that council does not have the ability to direct the approving officer, as the authority vested to the approving officer is through the Land Titles Act. With the chief administrative officer being council's only employee, rescinding the appointment as the approving officer eliminates a potential conflict arising between your one and only employee and yourselves. The recommendation in front of council is that council rescind the appointment of Kathy Cowan, Chief Administrative Officer, as the approving officer, and that council appoint Randy Gould, Director of Development Services, as the approving officer for the town of Oliver under Section 77 of the Land Title Act.
Questions, council?
I'll move the recommendation.
So moved. Seconded. Seconded by Council Grace. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, Community Child Care Planning Program. Refer to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will pass this over to Mr. Hool to bring you through this request.
Thank you, Your Worship. In 2018, the BC government announced expanded investment in the child care sector, totaling $1 billion over 3 years. This includes $237 million to improving access to child care, including funding the creation of 22,000 new licensed child care spaces. The Community Child Care Planning Program offers up to $25,000 per community, so 100% funded, to engage in child care planning activities in order to develop a community child care action plan. The information gathered through these plans will be shared with the BC Ministry of Children and Family Development and may inform future investments in child care space creation that the BC government may provide to the community through funding programs such as the Child Care BC New Spaces Fund. Through recent consultation conducted by the town relating to the economic development strategy, it was identified by residents that child care space is limited in Oliver. The opportunity to participate in a joint initiative with the RDOS and neighboring municipalities to examine ways to increase child care space is seen as a benefit to the community. For these reasons, it is recommended that council support the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, comments? That's great to hear.
I would just make a comment that, when we had this discussion at the regional district a couple of weeks ago, the conversation centered around how a regional snapshot of our child care needs would be perhaps more beneficial, in the longer term than sort of small individual pieces all around. So kind of connecting that puzzle, and, I think
favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to correspondence, I'll refer to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will pass this over to Ms. Bekovich so that she can bring you through the items that are on your report.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's one council action item under the correspondence report for November 12th. The item is correspondence from the Interior Health Authority dated October 31st. They are seeking input towards the refreshing of their vision, mission, and value statements. They provide 3 surveys, they say short surveys, for completion, and they're looking for input from a council and their community perspective. So the options before council would be for each council member to complete the survey individually or to receive and file.
Councilor Benjamin.
I heard about this survey at, I think, an interior health meeting a couple weeks ago. And it sounded like the more feedback they got, the better. I'm not sure if that's what you got from it as well. So I would suggest that in addition to us completing it individually, that we share the information on our social media.
Is that a resolution?
Yeah.
So the resolution amendment is that each council member complete the survey seeking input to the refreshing of IAH vision, mission, and value statement, and that the surveys be shared on the town's social media sites.
So I'll move that then.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilor Rice. Further discussion? Call the question, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
And the second item for information only for council's correspondence, there is a letter from Minister Rob Fleming with regards to council's fall meeting, and that you spoke to the importance of library funding in Oliver. He has responded to that, indicating that it's part of the province's strategic priorities. And second, a comment from the School District 53, if you want to provide input to their new draft policy for the school district for the provision of menstrual products for students, and that's for your information.
A motion to receive? Councilor Rice, second. Councilor Schwarzenberger, any further discussion? CAO.
Thank you. In that resolution, you'd also be receiving your weekly mail correspondence, not just the 2 items that were on here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call the question, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to reports. Airport manager report for October 2019.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is before you for the activities from October, and the usual work is being done there, as well as he's preparing the budget for the budget meeting, which I don't believe is going to be October 21st at this point in time. We're still working on the budget, so it's there for receipt.
Motion to receive. Councilor Rice, seconded by Councilor Mattis. Call the question, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Building permit report for October 2019.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's before council to receive for information. There was a total of total for this month was $833,000 in project value with a permit bill amount of $6,664.
Thank you.
I'll move receipt.
Moved. Seconded by Councilor Mattis. Any further discussion? Call the question, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Oliver Fire Department report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report is in front of you for October 2019. It does show that they have been busy for most of the month. What it doesn't show on here is some of the mutual aid work that they've been doing for the town of Osoyoos, because they've been having to go and assist because they are not having as many members come out to deal with fires. So they have been asking for assistance from our fire department to deal with some fires in town. So, on top of what we do here, we also have been providing some assistance to Osoyoos.
Yes, I think they had a structure fire down there, they had 8 people respond.
They have some issues in their fire department.
They do. We have a mover to receive the report. Council Grace, seconder. Council Victorina. All the question, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Move to council reports. Council Grace.
Thank you, Your Worship. On Wednesday, October 30th, along with Councillor Ventimilla, I attended a town light-up planning meeting. On Saturday, November 2nd, I attended the Fireman's Ball. So huge thank you to the fire department for once again hosting a great event, and to the spouses who provided a meal. It was a lot of fun. Wednesday, November 6th, I attended a Food Action Advisory Committee meeting. Also Wednesday, November 6th and Thursday, November 7th, I was visiting local businesses to ask them for their participation in the town light-up. Monday, November 11th, I attended the Remembrance Day services and today's meetings. That's it, my report.
Thank you, Councilor Grace. Councilor Schwarzenberg.
Thank you, Worship. Monday, November 4th, the CAO and I met with Randy Brown, who is the Provincial Manager of Liquor Manufacturing and Field Operations for the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch, regarding secondary tasting rooms in Oliver. This was a staff follow-up from the ministry where Minister Eby's ministry, and we met at UBCM to discuss secondary tasting suites, and it was really nice to get such a quick follow-up from their end. Mr. Brown was quite knowledgeable and has promised, gave us a few thoughts, and has promised to look into our suggestion further. And on Monday, November 11th, I attended the Remembrance Day service. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor Schwarzenberg. Councilor Ventimilla.
Thank you. As Councillor Grice mentioned, on October 30th, we were together for a light-up committee meeting, and light-up is a go for next Friday, so that's 10 days from today. Starting on Main Street and ending at the Community Center, an afternoon and evening of fun and fireworks. So looking forward to seeing everybody out. Fireman's Ball on November the 2nd as well. So a lot of what's been mentioned already. On Tuesday, November the 5th, I attended a grant review meeting. This is for the local committee of the Community Foundation, and this is for the regular grant cycle, for the neighborhood grants in the spring and the regular grant cycle this time of year. Thursday, November the 7th, I was at the Regional District for the day, and yesterday was in attendance for the Remembrance Day ceremonies at the Town Hall. That's it in my report.
Thank you, Councilor Ventimilla. Councilor Mattis.
Thank you. November 7th, I was at the Tourism Association meeting.
Thank you, Councilor Mattis. Let's see, I had a couple meetings. I got a hold of Carl Meadows as the hospital liaison and talked to him about the meeting schedule and an agenda for those meetings and who should attend. I think I heard that Lori Mutluck retired on October 31st. There's a bit of a rejig going on there, and that will determine who I end up having conversations with. Met with Chief Clarence Louis and the Director of Operations regarding the irrigation canal, mostly around the vertical excavations near the canal at the ready mix pit. So we had some concerns around that they were much too vertical with no slope and potentially compromising the irrigation canal. It was good to hear that they are completely on board with wanting to provide more slope in that area, and they're working toward that with sand that they're generating on site. Don't feel like there's any concern moving forward at this point. Also met with the corporate officer and Smoker Marchand at the artwork for the new park. He came up from OMAC to have a look at the base to make sure that the proposed structure probably to the one that's out at OCC where it's mounted on some rocks. About some big rocks, and then they bolted it to the rocks. I was at the Fireman's Ball as well, at Crime Watch on November 10th and November 11th, the Remembrance Day services, which were very well attended, without a doubt. I think it's a great event for all of us. Upcoming meetings, Wednesday, November 13th, special open meeting, budget deliberations, and the next regular meeting of council is November 25th, acting mayor schedule. For November is Councillor Ventimila, December, January, and February is Councillor Schwarzenberger. And at this point, public question period. Is there anyone in the public that would like to ask a question on council?